Yeah, I enjoyed doing the reading on this. You're very talented, Dan, to put this all together. So,
Oh, thank you, Steve.
season 11. Wow, how many more seasons are going to be?
Well, that's an excellent segue.
Uh-oh.
Season 12 is coming.
Well, I mean, it would have to be with the way you ended this. Come on.
Yeah,
That was the weirdest cliffhanger ever.
you like your cliffhangers.
I do. Welcome to the One More Turn Season 11 commentary over at onemoreturn.net. I'm series creator, producer, Hudson voice actor, Daniel Dan Q. Quick, and I'm joined by the Barry voice actor, Timothy001,
Hello, hello, hello.
and the Kingston voice actor, New Earth Relic.
Hello.
What were your first reactions when you had finished reading this season's script?
A lot of lawyer jokes in this one.
Lots of dynamic changes coming, it looks like. I'm seeing a few characters that have grown this season over last season. Whereas last year they weren't fully realized as characters, and this season they're more filled out just by their conversations.
Yes, getting that flushed out, including, as I'm sure we will get to, what Barry and Kingston are actually doing in this town at this time.
Yep.
Maybe just kind of a sneak peek of that for you. What was your reaction to learning that that's what those two were up to?
I'm surprised.
Like, they've already shown themselves last season to just be the worst people. And going and saying, hey, we're going to take over our parents' inheritance. Yeah.
And we're going to convince Max to remove him from the equation, because right now it's only Max that has control, and to convince Max that the two of us should in fact be in control.
Very surprised. I didn't see it coming.
Oh, these people aren't as bad as I thought they were, about as bad as they were, or worse.
Oh, they're much worse.
I mean, these two are absolutely awful people, so that sounds about right, honestly.
And I like that. I like the devious characters.
Because you get to voice someone that you're not in real life.
Yeah, I can be a little bit here and there. It was an interesting eye-opener for the character, for me. I like the direction the character's going.
And when before you were describing that there was lots of character development, character movement this season as compared to last, what was the first character that came to mind? Because it sounded like more than one, including Barry.
Kingston was obviously the other one that's had the growth. Nora had a little bit of growth there as well.
Oh, good growth, bad growth, mix.
A little bit of both. It was sort of in between.
I can mute myself and have a snack.
Did you bring popcorn?
No, but I have strawberries and cream cheese dip. I figure either way, it'll allow me to enjoy the thorough terribleness of pretty much everybody in this show.
Well, I was glad to hear the cream cheese dip, because when it was just strawberries, I'm like, that's far too healthy for this show. You're going to have to go get something unhealthy.
Yeah.
It can't be this wholesome. It's this show. You can't have just strawberries. That's far too wholesome for the show. That's not congruent to what we do.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, if it were just Max and Nora, the strawberries might work. And then I reread the script last night, and I'm thinking, oh man, Max and Nora are kind of getting sucked into the carnival of awful as well.
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
There should be a boating accident.
You said boating. Okay. Oh, good lord. It sounded a little, and this is probably my audio, but it sounded like boning, and I'm like, well, with Bella and Hudson, it could.
We already had one of those. That happened.
Yeah, between
Yeah.
Evelyn and Garrison, remember?
Oh.
Apparently Garrison still has a sprain something or other that...
How many times can I throw up in my mouth?
Wait, is that a challenge?
I hope not.
There was a boning accident. Someone broke their nose.
What kind of boating accident? Like, who's involved? Why are they on a boat?
Wow. That got dark.
What was your favorite episode this season, and why?
I just love how episode 3 started off the most. They're eating dinner, and they're trying to be nice to each other, but they just can't help but let it all out, right?
I kind of feel like Reese once again stole the dinner scene of just being absolutely crass and actually pretty darn nasty to Nora. Seemingly out of nowhere. It kind of seems like Reese is going for the whatever attention I can get is better than no attention at all.
Yeah, and that was, you could definitely tell that there's a lot of history and there's no dislike like family dislike. Just, everyone's big everything where their sensitive parts are and you know exactly how to poke them.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, this is how Reese carried on with her actual blood relatives, but as we've learned over recent seasons, actually since she was introduced 5 seasons ago now, things have not been going well with that family. They pretty well entirely cut her off. So this is a new family, and maybe this is just her way of trying to have familiarity with these characters, and this is how she wants to relate to them. And it doesn't entirely go well for her.
Yeah, about to say, if she wanted it to go well, I think she runs away from this entire thing, and that would be the least interesting in terms of the plot, so that's why she's not doing that.
As Max ends the episode with, especially dysfunctional in terms of how family operates. I don't see why these aren't going to continue if for no other reason than they try to see how awful they can be to each other. There's kind of this one-upmanship, one-womanship.
It also helps that the episode had the line, "My flab does not flap."
There's a lot of innuendo in this episode from Reese, and again, just seems to be very juvenile, but it seems to be more than usual. And again, she's definitely getting attention. There's absolutely no question about that. It even includes the line about Nora being like, please don't make me defend Avery. Why are you putting me in this position? Reese, stop it. Well, I will say that episode 1103, Divided Together, which was your favorite episode, NER, was my runner-up. It was super duper close. My favorite episode was actually the episode that came before it, which is episode 1102, Course Correction. And it's one of those things where I do think 1103 is stronger humorously, but it would not have had the meaningful developments surrounding Avery and her child without episode 1102. And even as I was writing this and I was making this decision, a little voice in the back of my head was, for anyone who's a Trekker, that kind of, or a Trekkie if you prefer the term, that kind of sounds like that's why the original series of Star Trek is the best, because nothing else would have come after it had it not been for that. And maybe that's fair, maybe that's unfair, but I got to give it to 1102. It's character driven, and there's only 2 characters, and we only have 2 characters. It's either going to be really good or really bad. And again, this is just Hudson and Max. Each of them gets a meaningful chance to weave their personality, their passion, and their persuasion in the conversation. And they both take it. Max sets aside any ill will over Hudson's repeated verbal laser nitwit bullying, which is what it is at this point. It is bullying. Mild, but still there. And Max just rolls with it. Hudson keeps trying. Max keeps ignoring it. So on they go. Hudson also recognizes that Max calling him is important enough. He needs to listen. He does listen. And he even takes immediate purposeful action and response, which by the end is, yeah, we need to convince Avery that her child needs to be nowhere near any of us, myself included. There's also plot progression. Max makes Hudson aware of Nora agreeing rather with Avery's request to adopt her and Caden's unborn child, leading again Hudson to ultimately suggest that only someone with no connection to all of them should be the one to adopt them, which goes to later, a couple of episodes later, where Max says, look, Avery, anytime I think of Jake, which is what she's going to name her child, I think of you, Avery, and that's not fair to Jake because I don't view you favorably. Of course, there are also examples of humor within episode 1102, including not everything I cook is roast beef and a red wine sauce, you laser nitwit. Most everything I've seen and heard or smelled you cooking is just that, parasite. Never say parasite during food prep. And the store was out of red. Or for really long-standing listeners to the show, Max does come across as stunned because he says some really quirky things that makes you wonder, is he really all there? But given the intelligence that we've seen, particularly this season and last with Max, kind of help but wonder, is he doing it on purpose to throw people off or quote unquote just the way he is? When Hudson says, what makes you think I would go to, the effort of using voice changing technology to confuse someone calling me? You'd be surprised the lengths of people go to confuse me. Hudson's like, that's too easy. Or actually just a couple of lines later, Hudson says to Max, you're not about to break out into song, are you? I promised Nora I wouldn't subject anyone to that line of communication again. Or Hudson, no one likes a clever dick. No, I'm Max. Okay. Oh, yes, and the line that kind of preceded Max telling Avery, whenever I think of Jake, I think of you. When Hudson says, Tell me, why call me to tell me yourself? How come I'm not learning about this from Nora or especially Avery, that Avery asked Nora and you to adopt her child, and on Nora and Max's behalf, Nora says yes, and Max says it was the right thing to do, especially when a child is involved. Just goes to show again how much better a person Max is than pretty well anyone else on this show. I would also argue this season proves that Max is even a better person than Nora, and perhaps a better person than most anyone listening to the show.
I'm going to go with my two runner-ups, which were 1102 and 1103. My favorite, however, was episode 13.
Together apart. Okay, do tell.
Just the way it was left at the end. Marriage in ruins, yours on the rocks, one of your brothers is arrested, the other detained. My ex may not be himself when he wakes up. My mother's disappointed, father distant, uncle arrested. Just the end of that for the build-up for the next season.
I kind of left it as you said there, Tim, that kind of summarizes what's going on, but there's no one is in any immediate peril. Bella turns to Max at the end there, I need to play a game. Join me? And I will say that that will lead into season 12. Bella and Max do start to play a turn-based strategy game again. There's been a lot of course, Max playing turn-based strategy games because he's got this gaming channel that Carson was managing and then not managing. But I think it had kind of been almost forgotten that, guess what? Bella also games. Well, I certainly say that the finale was not my least favorite either. I would say some highlights here, I'll just kind of go back. And I was highlighting some of the humor. There isn't a lot. I think it's definitely on the more dramatic as compared to the comedic side of this dramedy, but rightfully so. I mean, at one point, Avery's like, speaking of points, how is Hudson? Sorry, that was in poor taste. I mean, that's how some people are dealing with the stress, right? To try to make light of it. Oh, yes, this is also the episode where Evelyn says to Reese, you know, you remind me of the boogers that used to catch Bella flicking away. There's also a comment in this episode where Evelyn goes, I limit looking at the news to twice a day. Once in the morning to spoil my mood and once at night so I can't sleep. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, so it's between cycles. There's also that kind of recurring, and I cringe particularly at the millennial term, but the boomer versus millennial language comes up in this, particularly between Reese and Evelyn. And at one point, Evelyn was like, you still hold a candle for him, don't you? When she's talking to Bella about Hudson, and then Evelyn's like, if any one of you asks what's a candle.
But to say, isn't that what they sell at the mall with all the weird smells?
Yes, the scented candles? Oh, yes. Reveals what was not revealed last season, which was, what are Barry and Kingston doing in this town anyway? And now we know.
Apparently lots of guys and women.
I'm sorry, who are Barry and Kingston to call anybody misogynist? Number one. And number two, Kingston can keep my name out his damn mouth.
They are defective people.
Defective, yes. People, that's questionable.
Explain a little more of the backstory between Garrison and Hudson to also help explain to the audience, and in some ways myself, why is Garrison still around here dealing with these people? So there you go.
That was a good scene.
Yes, thank you. I really like to think that added a lot of depth in particular to Garrison and Hudson, quite frankly.
I want to know how Max turned out not to be an awful person with brothers like this.
With a lot of purposeful effort, I think.
Dark rituals.
He's not going to reference the movie? Really? You're not going to reference Sharknado? Wow. Carson.
Oh, yeah, Carson's not. No, we can't mention it specifically by name. We can't afford that.
Oh, yeah, I guess you can't. Okay. Persona? Am I the one with the Shakespeare nickname? No, it's a video game reference, Carson. God.
Wild to me is that Bella and Carson have no scenes together, and yet they're supposedly in a relationship.
I think that speaks volumes, no?
It is. This season really, it is kind of Bella-centric, and even though it's a lot of Avery's baby, it's still a lot of Bella in there.
True.
I have to admit, it's feeling a bit weird to see my name in the script and not have anything to say.
All right, well then that takes us to more favorites and not favorites, which, who is your favorite character this season and why? I'm going to selfishly start with myself and say that it was Max. Max was also my favorite in season 4 and season 8. Now, why? Max tells Hudson what Nora agreed to from Avery with respect to adopting her child. That was in episode 1102. In episode 1104, multiplied together, Max calls Nora out in front of the others with respect to her unilateral decision. And then also, actually, in the same episode, Max tells Avery how it is and how her not stopping Bella from foreclosing on the business that housed his laser hair removal business negatively impacted his credit score and in turn his financial stability and that of his family. Because Avery just went, oh, just open another one. It's not that big a deal. Max is like, get another lease with what you did to my credit score, what you have done to it still. It took me a long time to forgive you for this because all it did was holding on to that anger hurt me. But I can't forget. And I thought that was a pretty powerful statement of Max not worrying about keeping the peace or Max downplaying something or Max being self-deprecating. It was Max standing up for himself and I would say bluntly, but very politely telling Avery to shut the hell up. Anyone else choose Max?
Yes.
Ah, all right. Did you have similar reasons, different reasons than myself?
Very similar. He was, I think, the most honest person the whole season.
Absolutely. And he was being honest with people about what he thought about them, but also what he thought about himself. Maybe recognizing that I should have spoken up in the past about things that were bothering me and I didn't do it, and maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah. It was with all the deceit and lies and people turning back on what they've said in previous episodes. It was refreshing.
What about you, NER? Did you also choose Max? Do we have a hat trick?
No. I went for Nora because I think it's actually the same reason as last season as well. Just because she's the adult of the bunch. Just every time that she's doing stuff, I'm like, wow, she's actually kind of reasonable. I like her. The other person I was going to mention was Garrison, just because he's busy getting into a fight when he has no business being there.
When Barry and Kingston show up, Garrison is collateral there because it's Hudson they've got the beef with. And they're like, hey, you annoyed Carson. Like, Carson was going to be managing our gaming channel and now you're going to him, threatening these things about exposing his tax fraud and telling him to stop being a jerk to Bella, and now he's sadder and grumpier than ever.
Yeah, I will always respect a guy who's busy taking a punch to save someone.
And we also found out this season that Garrison, and in particular Hudson's history, runs pretty deep. I think Hudson has one of his most honest and heartfelt moments in the entire series when earlier in the season, Hudson just says, you always showed up for me when I needed you. So when you said we wanted to meet, I knew I had to be here. That gives me a lot of credit to what Garrison says and does the entirety of this season, and also reiterates why, even though Garrison is that much older, right, he's in the same realm of Gary before that, in terms of, why are these older people hanging out with these younger people? They're hanging out with their children's generation, and they're hanging out with in some cases, their children and their friends or their acquaintances. And I think that's just kind of like, oh, this is why Garrison, in part, is around. I mean, part of it's also to be with Evelyn, even though, as we know, that doesn't last. Oops.
I mean, some that's also just normal, right? Whenever you have any sort of social activity, you have a lot of difference between the ages just because you have a hobby in common.
Absolutely. To bring you together, and then through all that conversation kind of underscore things that, I wouldn't say tearing you apart, but it kind of puts a microscope on those things that are different about you when you spend so much time with these people for, as you say, reasons that do bind them together. It sounds like Garrison was a very close runner-up for favorite character, but you gave it to Nora. I'm just going to say it. Nora was my least favorite character this season. Whoa, I never thought I would say that. Here's my reasoning why. It was in anger, but she tells Hudson, maybe you should have been put up for adoption, which we know he was. And there were some characters in this scene that already knew that, but not all did, and it was not for her to say. And even for those who did know, that was a pretty low blow. I mean, I realize it's Hudson, but still also kind of insinuating that if you get put up for adoption, that you're bad and that you've done something wrong. And that really plays into a lot of very negative stereotypes about adoption. Actually, one of my favorite Reese moments in the season is when Reese says to Nora, like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say that? I got to say that Hudson does not reciprocate. He doesn't retaliate. He doesn't even really acknowledge that Nora has said that or any time after. I mean, he does offer a backhanded compliment, but it's tame and pretty tangential. That was episode 1104. Before that, in the season premiere, episode 1101, Mission Implorement, Nora tells Avery that she would adopt her child myself if I have to, all but dismissing Max in consideration, and seemingly forgetting that that would have an impact on Mora and Nax, because Bella does point out later in the season, what do you mean? You already have 2 kids. And then, of course, Nora's like, what would you know about such things? You and Carson can barely keep care of a cat. It's like, wow. And I get that Nora is trying to protect Jake from, in particular, Hudson, but I feel like her disgust of Hudson is now bringing out a really super ugly side that's been kind of buried beneath in what she says and what she does. You might say, well, Nora's still hanging around these people in part because they hang around Max and she's married to Max, but she's now letting herself become part of the lowest common denominator. I think that's also part of the reason why she's my least favorite character, because I'm like, who is this person? And to a lesser extent, in episode 1103, she even gets on Reese's case about the condiments that she's putting on a roast beef. Like, why would you put that on roast beef? Like, who cares? You're not eating the food. Well, neither here nor there. Anyone shocked that I chose Nora as my least favorite character?
No,
Yeah, when you lay it out like that, yeah.
you make a valid point there.
A different character for least favorite from you as well, Tim?
Well, mine's a twosome.
Would you happen to know one of these characters very well, seemingly?
Yes. Barry and Kingston, the deviousness of them and what they're planning, why they're here, and the way they're going about it. They are not nice people at all.
Now, in only, I'm not going to say partial fairness, but is there any way for Barry and Kingston to go about this, what they're trying to do, that would be better than what they're doing? Is there really a nice way to do this?
Probably not, but I think the way they're going about it is completely underhanded. Is there another way? Not really. But they're doing it for selfish reasons. They want to control everything. They want to be in charge. They want to control their destiny with the money that is in the family. They don't care about anyone else, who else gets hurt or anything else. They just care about the money. It's greed, plain and simple.
Yes, taking control of your destiny doesn't mean you're trying to frack over someone else's. It's their parents. I mean, admittedly, we don't know the backstory. We don't know if maybe Max is the favorite child. I mean, some people listening to the show might say, well, it kind of sounds like they are because only Max has any control over their estate, excluding Barry or Kingston. But maybe their parents have very good reasons for doing that. And if it's anything like Barry and Kingston are conducting themselves here, my thinking is good on the parents.
I agree.
Okay, so I do want to note that since we recorded a later episode that talks about the captain's platter, when Hudson makes reference to I can't decide what to have because they're out of the captain's platter, guess who got the last one? Dominic.
Oh, that's rude.
And that reference to Garrison's half credit on a first-year university course does not make him a political scientist.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. That's actually a reference to me. I have a first-year half credit in political science at university, but I'm certainly not a political scientist, nor have I ever claimed to be one.
I did not know about that.
Do you play one on TV?
If you're going to follow up the Doe contract, it should be me, because that could be Hudson's theme. Me, 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 me.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. For your character or a character this season, what do you think his highs and lows were? It just seems fitting to kind of turn to you here, Tim. I'm going to give you the impossible task, or seemingly impossible task, and tell me, is there a high for Barry?
He didn't get seriously hurt in the fight. He got a black eye. That's the high. There's no high for him this season.
Is there a high-low?
No, just a low.
Just a low?
Just a low. And it's the unveiling of their true purpose. It is lower than low. They're scheming. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But as a character, it's a very low point. They're the characters that you can't wait for something bad to happen to them. It's, will something happen to them? Only you know.
And so has it come to the point where it's like you want something to happen to them, but not for a while yet? Or are you just ready for it to happen at this point?
No, I'm happy to see this through as long as you keep them from having something bad happen to them. As bad as they are, I like the scheming.
Do you like the scheming as well there, NER, on Kingston's part?
Yeah, I definitely liked to hate the scheming, if that makes sense.
Absolutely it does. I mean, they're not stupid people.
No.
And that's part of the reason why they're as dangerous as they are.
And they're a lot more dangerous than you think.
Yes, because that information is revealed only to the audience. None of the other characters know this. I mean, I suppose if Max really put his mind to it, if he wasn't distracted with everything else, he might come to that conclusion. Maybe even Nora as well.
Yeah.
But none of them are there yet, which means they still have the element of surprise. Although, yes, they kind of took that away from them with the physical altercation that happened that led to Hudson being seriously injured and in the hospital, and also Garrison in the hospital too, but he's been arrested. Is there any high for Kingston this season anywhere?
So, like, Kingston is, to me, a villain, and I kind of like goes to a restaurant and starts a fist fight in a restaurant as just a very villainous thing to do. So, if you want to call that a high, big fan of that.
Because it almost seems like he wants there to be witnesses. He wants people to know how much of a threat he is.
And it's also just, I don't want to say kick puppy villainy, but like this is a very straightforward villainous act. You go and show that you are the villain and you're not here to play around. And he's going straight for the throat instead of wrangling over a video gaming channel that I don't know how much revenue it brings in, but enough that has tax fraud. So like, he's not going for penny change. He's going for real cash.
I mean, the last we hear in the penultimate episode, episode 112, Public Private, is when Kingston says, "Our problem is your problem because you started this cascade. Undo or we'll fix you." But what we don't know, and Max kind of gets to it in the season finale, because he knows had a chance to talk to these characters, but how do we go from Kingston saying that to what has clearly happened in episode 1113? Together apart. How do we get from that line to Hudson in medically induced coma because Kingston assaulted him? Is that the immediate thing that happened after the episode came to an end? Or was there some conversation that happened in between? That is not clear. Because I'm not convinced that that was Barry or Kingston's plan going in there, that it was going to escalate to that point. Something tells me that was a heat of the moment decision. And unsurprisingly, Kingston was more hot-headed than Barry.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't seem like a we're going to go to town and shoot up town, old Western sort of thing. It was much more of a we're going to go there and we're going to go and make some progress. And they probably got in an argument and fists started flying.
Barry has a black eye. Kingston's nose is broken. Hudson broke Kingston's nose before he fell to the floor. Barry ended up defending Kingston because Garrison was going after him. So it seems like that little piece there does sound like it was started by Kingston, and there was some back and forth, and that's how it ultimately ended. And something tells me it very quickly stopped at that point. There may have been some intervention from restaurant staff and or patrons to stop them, but maybe hold some of these characters apart until police could arrive and arrest these individuals. And of course, again, then take Kingston to the hospital.
Yeah, I was actually assuming that Kingston would get pushed and then just start fist flying.
Definitely an escalation. How many lows did Kingston have this season? Was it just kind of this one, or was there more than the one?
Like the whole Bella's Facebook post was definitely, I don't know if it's creepy or it definitely has like obsessive going on. Just going back through someone's Facebook posts, like that's what you do to investigate someone who does a major crime sort of thing. Kingston's
like, all the many, many posts about Miles, about Carson and Bella's cat, but there are almost no posts about you. No scroll bar was needed. And then this, given your history with Bella, either way, why would you accept her proposal to marry you? We heard it was to please your mother because she blames you for Caleb moving away, and I think that is spot on. And Caleb being Carson's brother, and I mean, that is, to suddenly also throw that into the mix was pretty nasty. Carson's fault or not, and I would say no, it was not. But still, that's like neither here nor there. Like you said, yes, to going through all Facebook posts, first to do that and then to bring that up as a point to being like, see what I can do and see what I've done. So fear me in what I can do and what I can't do. Ouch. I think for Hudson, unlike the other two characters we've talked about primarily here, Hudson does have highs. I'll start with his high-low. His high-low was telling Carson to come clean regarding tax irregularities when managing turn solutions. Now, albeit he does it, that's the high part. But the low part is this whole, well, I'm going to sue you for assaulting me in Gary's and Bella's law office, which happened 10 seasons before that. Hudson didn't even suffer any injury, and there was no destruction to any of his property. There was no reason to bring up this lawsuit other than, as had been established in conversation with Bella, well, I'm going to do it. I know I'm probably not going to win, but I'm going to do it so it enters the court record, and then people are talking about it and people are reminded of it. His low was definitely not being upfront with Bella about his concerns over how Carson was treating her, leading to her calling him out. That was in episode 1107. Bella was like, if you were that concerned about my well-being, you would have had the decency to tell me this to my face, rather than attempt to puppet string Max into some scheme of yours. Which I also thought it was humorous, because if we go way back to the beginning of the series, Bella and Hudson were involved in a plan that also included Gary and Riley being Hudson's sister, to bring down Caleb and Carson by taking over One More Turn Solutions by doing some stock purchasing manipulation. So I'm like, well, Bella, I guess you would know about Hudson's schemes because you were very much involved in one that almost succeeded. But it still doesn't justify Hudson making it like he was really that concerned about Bella, when in fact he's trying to get Max and others to confront Bella about it rather than just being direct. But for Hudson's eyes, his realizing and pushing for Avery's child is better being raised as far away from him and everyone else in his orbit as possible. Although he soon goes pretty far in sabotaging it after the fact in episode 1107. In 1106, All Roads, Hudson arranges for Evelyn, Garrison, and Reese to meet with him to discuss his concerns over Carson mistreating Bella, having previously counseled Max to fire him for managing his gaming channel. And Max listened to that because Carson does get fired from doing so, which eventually now leads to Carson managing Barry and Kingston's gaming channel. I alluded to this before, with Hudson showing up to meet with Garrison as requested, given their history, also in episode 1106. In 1104, and I also talked about this, where Hudson did not reciprocate, retaliate, or even acknowledge Nora's negative reference to his being adopted, which Hudson has clearly said in the past that he knows it was done out of love, knowing what he knows now about his biological parents' circumstance. But this was a good thing. It was a positive thing. So the fact that someone was making it out to be a negative thing, he did not jump at that. He did not respond to that, which I thought was taking a high road that I don't know necessarily just anyone would have made that similar choice. And Hudson also stays calm when he and Garrison are publicly ambushed by Barry and Kingston. I mean, up to the point that we see in the episode. I mean, sure, as we said, we find out in the next episode that, Hudson gave Barry a black eye, but Hudson was provoked.
So is this where we find out that Avery actually has a soft, gooey center?
Or its hormone.
The end to the family summit. She seems genuinely sad that if all of this gets resolved, then, she doesn't get to sit around and have lovely dinner conversation once a year with these people.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of she's gotten used to it, and now she comes to expect it. And if she doesn't have that anymore, then what's going on with the family?
So she's grown accustomed to their faces.
Max's line about every time I would see Jake, I would think of you, Avery, and that would not be fair to the kid. Whoa.
Yeah, that was a cold bit of truth, but probably the most emotionally self-aware thing we've heard out of anybody in any of these seasons.
It's also not a very high threshold, to be honest.
These people keep hanging around. I think at the subconscious level, they like each other too.
I mean, they hide behind the excuse that, hey, this is a small town, there's only so many people, but
There's definitely more than 10.
it's not a frickin' Hamlet, okay?
Skunk smells their own hole first. That is a horrible saying, by the way. Holy shit.
What about the plot developments this season? Highs and lows. What do you think they were? I'll start with you, NER.
I really like having a fist fight as part of plot development, just because, well, like I said, pushes forward the villainy, but it actually shows passion in a way that we don't necessarily get from people sniping at each other a bunch.
Are you disappointed that we didn't actually get to hear this happen on the show, or is it just enough to know that, oh my gosh, that actually happened? Like, as you said, passion got to that point that talk is over and fight is on.
I'd have to go and travel internationally to go and punch someone, and I'm not sure how well that goes over. So I think it's better off just saying we didn't have the fight.
Okay.
Because then we just have the terrible sound effects. I definitely liked the development around Barry Kingston trying to get the inheritance money. Nora definitely has a push towards falling towards the group, and I'm kind of mixed on that one. It's kind of a high and a low. I'm starting with the expectation that this is just a bunch of the worst people in existence, and she's just sort of almost inevitably going towards that.
What is the high for Nora in that respect?
So I guess the best way that I can phrase it is that she's trying her best with a bunch of people, and I think she's sort of, I don't say succumbing to it, but she's actually trying to do the right thing while sucking up a lot of bad influences, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, her plan to save Avery and Caden's baby from being in their orbit is a noble intent, but the execution is awful.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. I mean, also, I'm going to try and adopt someone, even if it's going to be like the last thing that I do, in case it falls through. Like, it's a self-sacrificing, I don't say archetype, but self-sacrificing move, and I appreciate that from a character.
All right, and were there any lows this season as far as the plot unfolded?
I mean, if I'm going to give slops, the first thing I'm going to start off with is the Admiral's Feast.
Well, as compared to the Captain's Platter?
Yeah, I mean, why would you buy the Admiral's Feast, right?
The one high that I will throw in there, and it's something that I promised last season would happen, which is what's going on with Avery's baby, Avery having the baby, and then what's happening with the baby would be resolved this season. And I did it in like the first third. It's been good, but it's time for this to wrap up, and then let's see what else is going on. So to me, that was a high. And I also like to think that it was a good conclusion. I mean, yes, it was good for the character, but that it made sense in terms of the character progression, in terms of how we got to that point. I didn't want it to be suddenly, wait, it seemed to be like we were going towards this, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, that's not happening. We're just doing something else. I wanted it to feel like there was a journey, and I hate to use some kind of cliched terms, but that it was authentic, and it just didn't come out of nowhere.
Mm.
What about you, Tim? Any highs, lows that we haven't talked about, or to confirm that, yes, those highs, low highs, and lows sound good?
Most of them sound good. I think, despite the fact that both Barry and Kingston have revealed their true intentions, I think that is going to help drive the next season as well, and how they're going to move forward with their plots. I think you've set it up so that maybe there'll be a surprise or two this season.
Our epilogue of 3 questions, starting with, did this season meet, exceed, or fall short of your expectations, and why? To you, Tim, to get us started.
It met what I was hoping for with the character development for my character in particular.
Okay, so there's why it didn't fall short.
Yeah, that's why it didn't fall short. I think the development of most of the characters was fairly well-rounded. The humor that you've put into it was, for the most part, funny.
Oh, I like that for the most part.
Slap, slap, slap.
That's the exception, or that's the exceptionally good part?
No, it's all good.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
Just some unfortunate mental imagery. You're welcome. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But no, yeah, because coming into the series late, I haven't had the expectation that some of the characters that have been around for a while have.
Very true.
And I still have not finished listening to all of them.
It's probably not necessarily an easy one to answer, but the season didn't exceed your expectations. Was it even within a reasonable realm to think that would have exceeded your expectations, or what could it have delivered that would have helped with that?
I don't know if there was anything that could have, because, again, new character, relatively new. This is only the second season I've been in. I was expecting more for the character, and I got that.
Okay.
So I don't think exceeding it would have been attainable no matter what you did, even if you brought in a juggling elephant. So
Being an audio-only show, I could bring in 100 juggling elements, and it probably wouldn't be any more difficult than one. But yes, I don't see why I would do that. It's a very kind of like Avery said. That's an oddly specific reference, but yeah.
Kind of hard to set expectations and then have them exceeded or not.
We were talking about flapping, juggling elephant. There you go. There's some more imagery for you.
I'm gonna sit in the corner and shake.
NER, did this season exceed, fall short of your expectations?
It met my expectations. I think my exceed expectations is a lot of impractical stuff, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, it would be great to have, like, Sir Patrick Stewart show up and voice the poop emoji.
Oh, okay.
I'm hopeful on season 12.
I would say for me, it exceeded expectations, and maybe part of that is because, again, I've got all the previous seasons there. And the reasons for the character development's already highlighted prior, the plot progression's highlighted prior. And I kind of go back to something that you said a little earlier, Tim, which was you didn't see it coming in terms of exactly why Barry and Kingston were there. And I wanted there to be some shock. I don't want it to be that, well, I listened to the season, it was confident, but the characters did what I thought they were going to do. They said what they thought they were going to say, and why am I here? To have it so that the characters are still unpredictable, or at the very least the circumstances they find in unpredictable, but then to have that established personality to then say, oh, nope, that's consistent. Or because of what's happening in the plot, especially with, say, Barry and Kingston, it's, oh, so I guess that's what happens when they decide to physically push and shove. Like, they do have that breaking point, and now that becomes part of their character. NER, what do you hope the audience's takeaways are from this season?
So I really like that fight, to be honest with you. I think it sets up a lot of stuff, and it shows that stuff is actually getting real. I mean, it's been real with, like, adoptions and stuff, so that helps out a lot in terms of, like, real-life consequences. But when I talk about, like, a gaming channel, some of it can be worth a lot. I'm looking at you, insert name of YouTuber, who I'm not allowed to say because I'm not getting sponsored. But, like, at a fight and, I don't want to say jail time, but probably a big fine, and don't do that again, or we'll actually go into put you in jail for a while, is, like, a very serious consequence. So I think that was a big step up from what was a lot of people sniping at each other last season.
Some of the information was privy to the audience only, and the other characters don't know this stuff. So I'm hoping that they actually realize that these are for the audience only, and that the characters don't know this, and it's going to be a surprise to them when they do find out.
My takeaways for this season, that the characters have the capacity to act outside of their personality, but it's still in response to plot progressions, be it positive like Hudson or negative like Nora. We've already talked about the drama behind the adoption of Avery's baby is waning, yet still substantially escalating with respect to the Barry and Kingston agenda. And though older than most of the rest of the cast, Garrison has a meaningful as well as redeeming features that mean he is of benefit to them, not just Hudson, while also being of questionable benefit to himself. Like, it's very clear what Hudson's getting out of this, but Garrison is getting out of it is still to be determined. What is your one wish for him in season 12?
More deviousness, more plotting. As much as it's, as a character, it's not nice, I love it for the character.
Oh, kind of half expecting you to say his comeuppance, but
No, I don't know if that's going to be this season.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's something that you're going to draw out for another season or not. So I'm hoping it's drawn out for another season. And then him and Kingston will get what's coming to them.
Okay.
And then the possibility of them having to pick up after the fallout from that.
And as for the one wish for Hudson, well, I think that's a pretty straightforward one. Dear Hudson, please survive the assault from Kingston. When your health is in question, I feel like everything else has to be secondary, and Hudson's very much in question. That question is answered by the end of season 12. The commentary for One More Turn, season 11, over at onemoreturn.net, and yes, season 12 is coming. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, Dan. Have a good night, NER.
Yeah, you too.
Want to hang around and listen to the great annual Hudson and Bella argument.
Can't have a season of the show without this, so that's what we're going to end the recording on. Fantastic.
Boy.
So Jennifer's still here. We had to have the past couple hours just to warm up for this.
All right, I'll stick around and listen to you argue.
Music by Kevin MacLeod. Voiceover by Sedgwick. Visit the One More Turn website at onemoreturn.net. Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.
I will say I was cackling.
I'm glad to hear that, Annalie. I really enjoyed writing this, especially the flap flap.
Oh my god. What seriously, Dan, what inspired you? What possessed you? What evil demon was sitting on your shoulder going, yeah, and another thing.